a quick refresher. Each of them was very short, 7 minutes and 6 minutes respectively. So today we are going to be looking at your method. Typically, job seekers will use one, possibly two methods, and each with varying degrees of confidence. The first of the methods is they'll go to a job board. Absolutely nothing wrong with that in itself. They'll upload their CV, they'll apply to jobs, and they'll wait. And then over the next few days, the next few weeks, and the next few months, and even the next few years, they'll make that their primary source of activity. Secondly, they'll think about working with recruiters. They'll reach out or they'll say, oh, which is the best recruiter to work with? Which is the best executive search firm to talk to? Which is the best headhunter? How can I get their attention? That's fine. They can do that. And typically, that is as far as things go. There may be some tentative reaching out to their network, but that network typically has been underutilized, or indeed, in some instances, well, typically when I'm working with executives, I'll say that they're no longer relevant, they've retired, or indeed they're no longer with us. Those are the typical reasons people will give me for why they're not particularly strong in their networking. They've realized now that they need something, they need to take some action. So how can we speed up this process? First of all, let's understand what job boards are for. It's often said that if you don't know what the product is, then it's usually you. And job boards are no different. People think that job boards are all about putting up your details and applying for positions. Actually, they are giant databases, and those databases typically get sold to recruitment firms. They use that data to reach out and enhance their database without necessarily advertising a position. If you've ever been contacted by a recruitment firm unexpectedly, then that's typically how they've got your details. How do I know? Well, two reasons. One, I've spoken to somebody who's very experienced in this industry, a gentleman called Jason Starr, who runs a platform called Gated Talent. And outside of that, Jason's other occupation is to work with recruitment firms on how to source candidate leads through purchasing databases from websites, from recruitment websites. So this goes on for real. The second reason I know is because way back when I was starting out in my career transition, I got a phone call one day out of the blue from a firm, recruitment firm, saying, we've got you an interview with a company that that is our client. Now, I myself had come out of the executive search and recruitment game, and I was on my high horse. I was thinking morally, this is outrageous. How can they be contacting me? They haven't even called me to get my details and to discuss this opportunity. They've just gone ahead and given them to the client. How dare they? Luckily, there was a little step ladder down from my high horse, and it said, you haven't got a job at the moment. You are already through to a first round interview, and it seems like you are one of a handful of people being considered for the role. Would you like to go for the job? I did, and I got it. And it was an interim role, and it was perfect for where I was in my career at that time. So that is just one element of how job boards are used. Your data is captured, collected, collated, and sold on. Be aware of it. Secondly, job boards, or to be more precise, job robots or job bots, are not very clever. If you put your CV up online once and leave it there, it just moves down, 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 down the list of relevant CVs. If, on the other hand, you make a minor update, you make a minor change. It doesn't even necessarily need to be anything different. It's simply that you have taken your CV down and you've replaced it with a, in inverted commas, new version. The system will count that as a new submission. And as a consequence, your details will be placed higher up. So you can, either every week or every couple of weeks or even once a month, you can increase your CV relevance purely by taking it down and putting it back up. The third aspect that you may want to play with or utilize is decide how much detail you want to put on your job board CV. Typically, job boards have job bots that like relevant details, plural. So that can mean that you have a much longer CV that details both what you did and what you achieved in your last role. That may not be the same style of CV you will use to apply for a position. In that instance, you will focus on your achievements and making them relevant and targeted. So, what the type of CV you stick onto a job board may be different, primarily because you want to provide the job bots with as much relevant information to match you to opportunities. This is becoming increasingly popular, or sorry, increasingly significant as job boards like Indeed move to skills-based hiring. And what that means is they are looking for examples of skills that are relevant for opportunities that are being posted on their site. If you have more content that demonstrates that relevance through the skills that you've applied, then that moves you up the pecking order and increases your relevance. So it's going to be down to you as to whether you do what most job seekers do, and that's just put their CV up there and leave it and hope that somehow someone's going to stumble on it and get in touch, or you get proactive. Now, I've talked about job boards. How about recruiters? Recruitment firms, you've got to remember, they're paid by clients. Their primary role is to provide candidates for those clients. They're not there to serve you. Does it mean you can't work in partnership? Does it mean you can't work respectfully together? Of course it doesn't. But you do need to recognize in the first instance, their job is to serve the needs of their client. Their role is to present the best candidates possible to the client. That may or may not be your details. So if you're working with recruiters, think about who you're working with and how effective that relationship has been. I'd suggest that if you're going to work with a recruitment firm, you give them 4 weeks to see what happens, see what results come through, see how they treat you. Do they remember you? Do they contact you? Do they keep you up to date? If there's no contact, if there's no professional relationship between the two of you, make sure you're also being proactive. Once a week or once every couple of weeks, you're letting them know, giving them an update on your situation. Hi, this is Amechi. I'm letting you know that I am still available in the market. I am pursuing opportunities at the moment, and I'll update you again in a couple of weeks as to my situation. They don't need to do anything as the recruiter. What you're doing, though, is you're just flagging, I'm interested, I'm around. If you want to reach out, you can. I'm going to be back in touch in a couple of weeks. Then you make a note in your diary, and in 2 weeks' time, you do the same reach out. And you make sure you're consistent. Over the weeks, or indeed over the months, that consistency will start to pay off because the recruiter will start to notice that you are around. And dare I say it, some of them will feel some kind of obligation to at least pick up the phone and say, It's quiet at the moment. Oh, excuse me. It's quiet at the moment. There aren't many opportunities around, but I just thought I should touch base with you because you've been kind enough to keep me up to date. So if you do that, you stay top of mind with them as a recruiter. Additionally, you'll find out, has that recruiter left the firm? I've lost track of the times when people have gone, oh, I haven't heard anything from my recruiter. The recruiter I reached out to them a month ago, 2 months ago, 4 months ago, 6 months ago, and they haven't been in touch. I said, have you checked if they're still with the company? No. And surprise, surprise, more often than not, they found that person has moved on. They're somewhere else. You thought you had a relationship with the firm. You didn't. You had a relationship with the recruiter. If that recruiter leaves, then you are at the bottom of the database. And unless the company proactively re-engages with its candidates, which not all firms do, you are not going to hear from them. Not because they don't care, not because they're not interested, but simply because a new person will start with their new set of relationships. So keep in contact with your recruiter to see where they are. Are they still with the firm? How are things developing in the market? And also if you've got anything useful to share with them, any updates you can provide them with. Moving on, there is a difference between a recruiter who typically works on a contingent basis. That is to say, they're charged with filling a role or filling roles. They're competing against other recruitment firms as well as the company's HR team, and they don't have the role exclusively. On the executive search side, they too might work on a contingent basis. Those roles will be in the public domain. You'll see them posted on their website. You'll see them posted elsewhere on other job sites. However, there will also be situations where they have been taken on exclusively, and they will be working on on a retained assignment basis. That is to say, they are the only company working on the role. Now, you are obviously looking to talk to those executive search firms and find out, A, do they have any roles available that match up to your capabilities? And B, whether they've got exclusivity on those roles or if they're in competition. Ideally, you want to be a candidate speaking to them about a role that they're handling exclusively. It reduces the level of competition. Now, the third level is headhunters. Headhunters are always on using their research skills and are always looking for the most talented or capable individuals. Increasingly, that search is now global rather than regional. Typically, headhunters will reach out to you rather than you reach out to them. If somebody recommends a headhunter to you, please do not get overly inflated with your opinion of your capabilities. There's a strong likelihood that you'll have a polite conversation in which that headhunter will explain, unless I'm retained by a client to go out into the market and find candidates that typically others cannot find, I will not be reaching out and speaking with you, simply because I'm not dealing with any live opportunities that match up with your background, your skills, your experience. That can feel like a crushing blow, a rejection. But if you understand how headhunters operate, then in fact you'll go, fair enough, I understand. There are typically three reasons that you may want to reach out to a headhunter, and none of them are to say, do you have a job for me? The first reason is because you become aware of an opportunity that could be one that the headhunter could take on and earn business from. The second is because you know a candidate or individual that would be right for a role that you know that headhunter is dealing with. And so you're going to recommend somebody, you're going to refer them to that headhunter to make a connection. The third reason is because you have some market intelligence or market information that will inform that headhunter and help them in either seeking candidates or filling the position. in terms of understanding the client. Those are 3 reasons to get in touch. If you've got that kind of knowledge or experience, then by all means reach out to a headhunter, knowing that they are actively seeking to fill a position and could benefit from the information you have to share. The headhunter will typically view you as a useful contact, someone to treat with respect, somebody to keep in contact, somebody to put in their little black book, and yes, they do have a little black book of contacts, and put a tick next to your name to say, yes, I will go back to this person. And if there is an opportunity that relates to them individually, I will contact them because I know they are polite. I know they take my calls. I know they'll ring me back when they say they will. Now, some of you might be thinking, oh my goodness, surely headhunters don't keep a little black book. Surely they don't look at whether people ring them back or not. Surely they don't consider manners and courtesy as important. Well, newsflash, they do. So if you know already in your career you've palmed off a headhunter, you haven't called them back, and then you're reaching out to that same headhunter, be rest assured they're very likely to go back to their notes and look at how you treated them before. So you better bring a bit of humility and, if necessary, an apology before you restart that relationship.